Good morning. PT on Ice group. It's about 8:30 Eastern Time, 8:32. Oh, late start. Late start today. See if anybody joins us this morning, and then we're going to get rolling. Talking about sort of raising the bar, going from services to experiences. And it's a really important topic, and it's one that I don't think gets enough credit or enough time talked about. So I want to dive into it a little bit. It's a critically important topic, I think, on moving the needle on health. It's probably one of the most important things that we can all kind of get our heads wrapped around. So wanted to dive into it some. Let me go ahead and start the clock so that I can be respectful of your time. Good morning. Looks like we got a couple of folks there. Jean Carlos, Sean looks like maybe on board there. So good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get rolling. So the main topic here, the main point is this kind of like jump from delivering a service to really delivering an experience in kind of the, in the world, in our place, whatever that is. And it's a critically important concept. And the reason why it's so important is because it's really sort of the economies that we work in. So I'm referencing back, all the way back actually to really the beginning of my practice. 1998 is when this original article came out, and it's kind of one of those articles where you just wish you saw it when it came out, because it would have been cutting edge stuff at the time. And it was written by two authors, Gilmore and Pine. What's up, RJ? I see you there. Who wound up writing actually a couple of books based on this initial article, or maybe they had the manuscripts going or whatever, but about a year after they published the article in HBR. So the article is about the experience economy. And that's a concept that in 1998 was not only new, but I would say kind of cutting edge and really very different. And what it's kind of created and kind of spawned was this idea of that we've moved from an economy of services to one that's an economy that now rewards experiences. Now, this shouldn't come to surprise to some, especially those of you who follow people who are kind of talking about this idea of, really creating a context for users and creating sort of a, like a rewarding experience. We have people in our profession who've been talking about this for a while. We have people in outside of our profession who have been railing about this for a long time. But the truth is, if you kind of, peel it all the way back, you go back to these guys, and I know I first saw it in about 2008-9, and in 2008 and 9 I read a book called Authenticity, and that book was written by the same two authors. It was written by authors by the name of Pine and Gilmore, and it was a follow-up book. Authenticity was a follow-up book to their initial book, which was called The Experience Economy, which came out in, I think, 1999, which again followed this article, which I think was titled the same thing. Let me see, I went back and downloaded it today. It's called Welcome to the Experience Economy, and I can certainly post the link in the notes. But that's a 1998, so at this point, 20 years old, idea. But it's as relevant today, I think, in our profession as it is anywhere. And so what's the basics of it? The basics of it are this, that as the world and economies get more complex, they reward you for doing different things, right? So years and years and years ago, kind of like whatever, turn of the century or maybe even before, you could reward someone, i.e. buy their thing, whatever they're selling in the marketplace, at a commodity level, right? So that's like I pull something out of the soil, or I mine for something. I find some natural resource and I kind of pull it out. So that's sort of really early economic stuff. And those who are doing it would be rewarded. Then as economies kind of grew up and matured, you get into now taking those commodities and doing something with them, making something. So these are your craftsmen. These are your people who are, truly taking something of natural origin and then crafting it into something awesome, valuable. So think of maybe like a blacksmith, right? So takes, iron and kind of pounds at it and heats it and tempers it and turns it into a sword or a horseshoe or something of value. So that's a new economy. It's a completely new step up from just simply finding these things. What's up, Meg? I see you there. Good to see you. Just as a sidebar, Meg dialing in from Australia, making me feel a little nervous because she saw me on Twitter saying I was going to talk about this. So I'm hoping I don't disappoint. So anyway, so then you go from goods, kind of like, making things, to now delivering services, and that's a whole new economy, right? So that's now, doing something for another person doesn't necessarily, require goods. Like, you don't necessarily have to make anything, but just doing for another person is now valuable enough that people will pay for it. Now, in many ways, I think that in the professions, we sort of see ourselves at that level. And I think what that does is it gives us, some sensation that we are doing something for other people, and that maybe there's an altruistic bent there, and that it's a helpful thing. It's good, and that we deserve to be paid for it. And in many ways, over the course of recent history, last couple of years, maybe last decade or two, we've always sort of bought into this concept that we should get paid more for the more that we do for other people, right? This is the basis of healthcare, at least in the U.S., where we get paid essentially fee for service. The problem is with that is that, the world doesn't work that way. The world doesn't work the way that there's an infinite ceiling on these services, that you can just keep doing more, doing better, and charging more. In fact, anybody who studies innovation will tell you, no, it actually works the exact opposite way. That the more you add, the more that becomes the norm, in which case that should drive prices down, meaning that, you have to continually add more just to keep up, or do something truly innovative to actually charge more, and that your prices will likely fall the better you get at something. Now, as professionals, we are not set up for that. That is a scary proposition for most of us. That sounds really, really bad. It's, well, what if someone else who's of lesser skills can come in and do what I do and charge less? That's going to knock me out, and so I have to protect my turf. And so we see a lot of turf war go on in our profession and every other like profession. Everybody's trying to claim that they're the expert on that one thing, and that thing is protected somehow, and create some kind of monopolistic world. Well, in my opinion, that's not how the world works, and it's definitely not how business economies work. And so for a person who often deals with people in the business economy, who are dealing with, employer clients and people who are in the marketplace, quote unquote, that's just not how the world works. The world works with, as you gain efficiency, I should be able to get the same thing for less because you're getting better at it. You have to work less to deliver that thing, right? So whatever that is. So it ties to this whole idea of authenticity, because this is where the world is now going. Now, 20 years later, after the initial publication of this article about the experience economy, we are now seeing this everywhere. Okay, and in many ways, it is the root of population health, right? Or population anything. You've heard me over the last couple of weeks sort of trying to say, hey, listen, population health is one thing, but it's really just population dynamics, which means that it's how do people behave in groups, and how do those groups kind of accomplish things. And so what they said at the time, 1998, and of course in the 2009, when I read their 2007 book called Authenticity, which is a dry read. I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy read, but it's got some real pearls. So anybody who's interested in this stuff and kind of moving populations, I think you should check it out. It would be worth your checking out, at least the first few chapters that kind of talk about this. At any rate, one of the things that they talk about is now the next step up is experiences. So you go from services, I sell something to help your life be better, to now I create a scenario where your life experience, the moment you're experiencing it, is better. Right? So by far the most well-known or well-studied group who was doing this, the innovator in this space in many ways, was Disney. Right? You can easily say that Disney, creates magic. That's what they talk about, right? They want to create magical experiences. And with all their warts, they're certainly not a perfect organization. You can find reasons to poke holes through them. But what they've done is impressive, right? If you go to a Disney park, if you've ever been to Disney World, the amount of thought and thinking that goes into the experience itself, right, is unbelievable. And I would just tell you, I think I've mentioned it before, but in case you missed it, do a little reading and a little research on how they determine how to handle their garbage. Like literally the trash in the parks, right? So as the story goes, Walt Disney said, listen, we're going to have the cleanest parks, on the planet. Like that was just a big deal to him. And so Disney spent a lot of time researching human behavior. And what they found out was there's a certain distance, like 32 steps or something crazy like this, that a person will carry trash in their hand before they would just throw it on the ground, right? So they're studying human behavior and group behavior. And then what they decided to do is say, okay, so we know now that if you'll carry it about that far, we've got to put garbage cans a little closer than that so you'll see them. But we can't just leave it there, because that's boring, and that's just a service we're providing. Hey, a garbage. So now we've got to make it exciting. Right? We have to make it kind of like magical, because that aligns with our mission, and that, doesn't take a person out of the experience. Nothing takes you out of the magic faster than having to think about what you're going to do with your sticky, gooey, whatever the hell you just bought for your kids, and do something with it. So they have to kind of keep you locked into the magic and make the trash experience part of that, right? And you can Google this. I mean, there's well-documented case studies of this, of exactly how they've done it. But I mean, one of the things they do, of course, is they paint the garbage cans, they make them fun, they give them sound effects sometimes, and another thing that they do is they tell their entire staff that they are garbage men. Like, I don't care if you're Mickey in the suit, or you're the CEO, or you're really a truly employed to pick up trash, everyone here is a garbage man, because one of the critical things about the magic of our place is the cleanliness of it. Right, so think about that in your practice. Think about that in what you design, and think about that, how that influences the behaviors of the individual. Right, so if I walk in the door and I don't have to worry about the trash cans, or I don't have to kind of think about this stuff, I can stay locked in the moment, and I can do whatever it is I need to do. And so I think Gilmore and Pine did a really nice job of kind of laying out exactly what that is. Now, what they talk about in the 2009 book, and there was a 2011 review, I think another kind of book in 2011. I have not looked at it, so I'm unsure. But in 2007 book, I read it in 2009. They talk about even higher than experiences, right? And what they say is, look, there's even one step we think higher than experiences, and that is transformative experiences. Those are those experiences that change who you are, that change your being, that change what you're all about. And so what I want you to know, and kind of pulling back the veil a little bit, a little method to the madness, and I know not everybody is playing along with the Summer of Move, but there is a data set there now for anybody who's really interested in kind of human behavior, especially as it relates to physical activity. Right, and I'm not gonna steal anyone's thunder, because this is someone else's story to tell. But I will tell you, as of late last night, there was a story posted on the Summer of Move, community, which essentially is like using a workplace community by Facebook, and it was really all about a person who got completely out of their comfort zone, and that over the last 7 weeks, this person has gone from never thinking they could run again to spontaneously deciding to complete a triathlon and doing so. And just the language and understanding this story, it clearly makes it, seen. You can clearly see that this person's sort of behavior has been transformed, and that there's an impact on their life. Now, in truth, we're putting this thing together at almost a zero budget, right? People play for $20, and 90% of that goes back to charity and prizes. So do the math, right? You're talking about $2 per person for 7 weeks of experience, okay? That's a ridiculous price, and it's yielding health outcomes. Okay, we have to pause and take that in for a second. And I'm not saying that because I helped design it. I'm not saying that to pat myself on the back. I'm saying that because I don't think that besides taking plenty of years to dabble in this and do it in an applied way, I have no advanced degrees in this stuff. I've just spent a lot of time doing it, right? Had skin in the game, having to deliver it in the marketplace. And so we figured out a lot of the nuances. But in truth, this is something anyone can do. And so as we kind of think about, look, we want to move the needle on health, we want to change the health trajectory of a population, well, then you have to start thinking about what is it that population is currently experiencing, how can you get them in the experience that you want them in, and how can you drive that in a way that is low cost, low barrier, and allows them to stay in the magic, right, as long as possible, hopefully as long as until it takes. Now, we know that for most people that takes 6-8 weeks, so that's usually a sweet spot, but the truth is that that's what we're all after. And if you can do it at scale, you can charge a very low amount and have a profound effect. Excuse me, I got a fly buzz in my face. So that is the critical message, right? And I guess I wanted to just sort of say in my 1 minute and 30 seconds left that there is a method to this madness, and I hope everyone understands it and sees it. But if not, that's what we're doing here. That's what we're teaching here. That's what we're designing here, and that's what we're showing here. Right, if you're using Summer of Move as a case study, and it's precisely the way that we built it this year, that it is a case study with, at this point, thousands and thousands of lines of data of real people who are finding ways to move more, okay, move enough to actually make changes in their health, and are experiencing something profound in the midst of it. I am incredibly proud of my team on this one. We call them the oxen, the free the yoke oxen, and I don't tell people who they are because it's not just my team at Proactivity. There are people doing this. But the truth is that I'm incredibly proud of what they've designed, because they've designed something that gets the outcome we want in a way that doesn't feel like a chore, and I'm not charging by the hour, and I'm not charging by the person, and I'm not charging by the service. Now, the only way, in my short 22 seconds left, that these kinds of things work is when you're able to take them at scale. And that's kind of the take-home message. The take-home message really is about how can you change that experience, whatever you're trying to get, whatever the outcome, which usually is a behavior at some level. More activity, eat better, sleep better, whatever the case may be. Whatever outcome you're trying to get, to design something where people can lose themselves in it, and it just becomes a natural output of the experience itself. Right? The behavior, instead of saying, hey, let me tell you all about it and charge you a lot of money, let me design something which kind of fosters it and makes it happen anyway, that you get it anyway. And then figuring out a way to price that where it's cheap enough that a lot of people can do it, okay? Expensive enough that it can make you some money and keep you doing what you do in design, and at scale enough that enough people can do it, that it actually changes the health of communities. So I want to leave it there. I just want you to check out those resources if you're interested in this kind of thing. Look into them a little bit. They're good. They're high quality resources, and we're way late to this game, right? We're way late to this game. People who are in the marketing space understand this science way better than health professionals do. Okay, they've been crafting experiences for years. Bottom line is, it's time for all of us to take back that idea and craft experiences that promote health instead of craft experiences that promote disease and destruction. I'll leave it there. Have a great day. It's only Monday. It's only Monday. You're just getting started. If this stuff interests you, as always, I'll put my plug in. We've got the course starting in September. We've got Rising Tide at the end of September. We've got some stuff happening in New Jersey in early October. If you like running and population health, you might want to check that out. Or for you budding data scientists, we've got a really good pool of data here that talks all about how humans really behave. And if you want to know how they really behave when it comes to physical activity, we've got some stuff for you. I'm going to leave it there. It's only Monday. Have a great Monday. Think about this stuff. Think about the experience you're creating. Make it count.